Thank you for joining us today. For those who don't know, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Rook. I'm Vice President of Marketing and Communications for Michigan Retailers Association.
And for those who don't know what the Michigan Retail Association is, can you go ahead and explain that to them?
Sure. Michigan Retailers Association represents about 5,000 retailers that do business in the state of Michigan. So roughly 5,000 retailers that have roughly about 15,000 sites, whether that's a brick and mortar store, e-commerce shop, or both, or e-commerce. So we represent all types of retail, from your traditional retail stores, grocery stores, to professional services, anyone who's doing business and exchanging money in the classic sense of retail, we're representing them. So we have an advocacy arm. We also offer workers' compensation and credit card processing. Those are two very valuable services, as well as shipping. So we really help a retailer do better business here in Michigan.
And that's a wide range of retailers here in Michigan. So when it comes to back to school months, what does the MRA typically see in the state of Michigan?
Well, it's interesting. If this were 2019, I would tell you what we typically see. But this is 2021, and there's a whole year that we lost last year in terms of your traditional back to school shopping. So what you're going to see is probably a do-over back to 2019, not necessarily forgetting 2020, but last year when school started, for the most part, everybody was still in their pajamas and nothing really changed. You did everything virtual. This year is the push to get back to school in the traditional sense. We're seeing that Michiganders are going to spend more money from elementary school up through college to go back to school. Where they're spending a majority of the money is really going to be in apparel, especially in your middle school and your high school levels and elementary school. That first day of school outfit is back. We're seeing lots of just going back to the 90s. So a lot of celebrating the 90s again. So if you were familiar with the show Clueless, you're probably going to start seeing more plaids, boho graphic tees. Doc Martens are back, so pull out your combat boots. If you had those, 20 some odd years ago, they're back in fashion. So, and white gym shoes like the Nike, I forget what they're called, but the white gym shoes are going to be big this year, as well as straight cut jeans and, just more muted colors again. So it's going to be interesting in terms of school supplies. A lot of parents saved school supplies from last year because they weren't necessarily going back to school. They didn't know when they were returning to classroom. However, the supply list hasn't changed. I think for those parents that held off buying school supplies, they're going to need all the basics again. Dorm accessories, we're going to see a surge in dorm accessories because college students going back into the dorms, and they want their dorms to look and reflect their style. So overall, I think based on recent numbers we've seen for sales for retailers, we had a strong June. We're expecting a strong July and probably going to see a nice, strong August as well. So it's really nice. I think in terms of shopping, are parents shopping yet? Not necessarily. They generally are waiting until your August, late July, August months. And, in some places across the country, they have the tax-free holidays and those types of things. So parents are going to be looking for sales, and hopefully we're going to see some good bargains out there.
How does the MRA support like small businesses and the big chains with this like kind of back to school, especially since they're readjusting, like you said, this year to kind of going back to what the norm looks like? How does the MRA support them?
Well, probably the biggest message that is a takeaway is support local businesses. So one of our big directions we're giving to consumers is when you're out shopping for back to school, try to remember 3 local retailers. If you can remember 3 of them, try to direct some of your spending dollars to them, because as the numbers are positive and it seems like things are back to normal, Retailers across the board were hit hard, especially those who were located in downtown areas, those that were located near restaurants. They really suffered a lot. Some stores aren't even back open again. And there are some places that you probably drive through towns and you see some are closed permanently. So when you're thinking about back to school, whether you're going to do it online or whether you're going to do it in person, if you can find that local shop around the corner and direct some business to them during the back to school season, they're really going to appreciate that. So I would probably say that's our biggest message. Just to support your local retailers.
And you talked about apparel. So when local retailers, because I know usually I think sometimes the average person thinks, oh, like Target, Walmart, Meijer, whatnot. But what are some things that can like retrain their thinking that to say, okay, I could look for this item here at a small business rather than like a big change?
Well, you know what's interesting, if you are searching online, a number of smaller retailers, because of the pandemic, have established e-commerce. They added e-commerce to their websites. So chances are they might show up when you are doing the Google search for a certain outfit or something similar. I would check your Facebook, if you are friends with them on Facebook, and you're looking at a certain item, reach out to your favorite retailer on Facebook and see if they have a similar item that you can come in and grab where it's available online. Start that dialogue. They're smaller, retailers are wonderful. They've used social media just expertly all the past year, from doing online virtual events and virtual showrooms. And they're really adept at getting back very quickly, and they want your business. So I would suggest checking out their Facebook profiles, checking out their Instagram feeds, and seeing if you have that outfit in mind, seeing if they sell something similar. And if you can, walk around the corner, go visit them. Check out, you do a Google location around me and go check out those local stores, because I know that a number of retailers would just go out of their way to make sure their customers are happy.
I'm sure too, just walking into a store probably can spark something in a local business like, oh, I didn't know that I needed that, but I want it. And that could be
right.
a piece to like a son or daughter's first day of school outfit, like you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. People, it's interesting because traditionally the back to school is like, a fresh start. Well, I think that term takes on a greater significance this year, because you're starting to see more people refresh their wardrobe, because, as more parents return back into the office, the kids are going back to school. It seems like a big, convergence of everybody wanting to have a new look, fresh look. And the retailers are really trying to just make sure they, give the great trends that they're seeing and offer a great variety that will, satisfy a number of needs.
So what are some common items besides like school, like dorm? Like I know you talked about dorms, like I guess we can go talk a little bit about that. What dorm necessities are parents looking for, or are kids wanting when they are going away to college, since it's their first sense of freedom?
Yeah, well, first of all, electronics. They still need the computer, they need the printers, they need, anything, headsets, because, in some cases, depending on, you still may be virtual, depending on your level of vaccination or your comfort level, there still may be a little bit of that. So anticipating that is going to be important. Hand sanitizer, masks, because a number of schools are going to be requiring masks still, so you have to bring those things in. I would probably say comforters and sheets and pillowcases, those items to make sure your bed is very comfortable and it reminds you of home. As probably your refrigerators. I think the contactless type of behaviors we have adopted over the past year are just going to stay in place. So chances are you might see more refrigerators in dorms, little mini fridges and those types of things, because people may be a little apprehensive to go down to the cafeteria where they're not, they may not feel that comfortable eating off buffets yet. So I think you're going to see a little bit of habit of those type of items, probably more cleaning supplies in a dorm room than you've probably seen in the past. So I can see going more. But some of your classical things, like bulletin boards and those little things that can personalize the desk, make sure you're comfortable and you've set up the right study space. I think you're going to see a lot of that move as well, because people are going to be enthusiastic to really want to start off the year right.
And you mentioned too a little bit earlier, like masks. And I know here locally we have Michigan State University, and we have our
Yes.
CATA bus system. And I know for anyone that's kids are attending Michigan State University this fall, or for anyone that uses CATA, those masks are still mandatory for now. So
Yeah.
those will definitely still be a necessity. So it's a very good point. Uh,
Yes.
for teachers, because I know teachers, they typically obviously shop for more than just one kid. And maybe if they even have their own, they're shopping for a classroom. What tips would you have for teachers when looking for how to get like the biggest bang for their buck when they're shopping?
Oh, that's an excellent question. The teachers probably, if they are taking advantage of loyalty programs, the loyalty programs will be their best friend, as well as looking at special deals. The retailers really try to go out of their way to offer special deals, teacher night out, college teacher night out, to allow the teachers to get in and get what they want. You know, some of the teachers, this is late July, they're heading back into the classrooms already. They're trying to set up their classroom. A teacher spends on average about $1,000 out of their own money to outfit their classroom, because to your point earlier, they may be helping out a student. And just because of budgetary reasons, they're trying to create a great learning environment. So a lot of teachers reach in their own pocket and bring their own things. So retailers, large and small, know this. So they're trying to make sure that they host, a teacher night out, take advantage of those teachers, look for your sales. Yeah, they're back. They want your business. Most retailers want to support teachers. They're great community leaders, and trying to make that available to them. You know, there may be special couponing that happens. So check local flyers and see what's going on. And hopefully you're going to start seeing that probably in early August. Traditionally that happens. So I would probably just, stay tuned. The deals are coming.
Yes, and for teachers and families who may be in need and may not be able to afford so much for either a big group of students or the kids of their own, what is like the time of year that the MRA typically sees a decline in back to school shopping and prices kind of dwindle down, and maybe there's that clearance item because it's like I don't know, like a pink stapler comes to mind, and maybe that's not going to be trendy next year or whatnot. When do they typically put those sales out?
Well, honestly, you're going to see probably all that before back to school, or sorry, before Labor Day. You're going to see that before Labor Day, because what we like to call in the business, the planograms, change up very quickly. So, right after Labor Day, a lot of that stuff goes on discount or disco, and a lot of those items move. And in some retailers, they don't necessarily keep a lot of that inventory. They've ordered just enough and then it's gone. If you're going into, a bigger retailer and you've waited to the last minute, chances are it's slim pickings. So I would probably say the week before Labor Day is when you're going to see a lot of that stuff go on, discount or clearance. And so I would pay attention to that time frame. You may see some trickle things right afterwards, but we're moving into holiday. Back to, Halloween and holidays start to take over from there. I mean, in some cases, you're already seeing, you'll start seeing holiday stuff right after Labor Day, which is a little alarming, but it does happen. So it's just, that's the way product moves. For those families in need, they do have the Stuff the Bus programs and the Stuff the Backpack programs that will be coming online. So, watch your local news to see what charities are going to be hosting those things. I know a lot of news programs do host those. So there's help. There's help for parents to help their kids go back to school on the right foot.
Absolutely. And I'll kind of open this up to you. Is there anything else you'd like the community or anyone watching this to know about back to school season or the MRA?
Well, I think that there's plenty of supply. Parents have probably heard about labor shortages and supply chain shortages. That is true. However, the retailers have, especially, they've been saying this throughout the pandemic, that there's plenty. supply of your basic supplies, and that is the same for back to school. It's just if you want that favorite pencil or pencil case, you might want to get it a little sooner because there is limited supply. So just know that, you know, in terms of store staffing, their staffing has been a challenge. So try to use patience and kindness as you're in these retailers, because they're trying to do the best they can and offer great customer service, yet their staff may be a little limited. So I would probably say that keep those things in mind as you go shopping. And again, if you decide you're not going to the store, you want to do all of this online, please remember to shop your local retailer, because they really could use your help.
And those are some great tips, especially coming off a pandemic with the staffing and whatnot. So thank you for sharing those.
Of course, Katie.
And thank you also for talking with Home TV. We appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. Anytime. We're happy to help.